Hi, this is Stephen from Owner Disown. Thanks very much for helping me reach 9,000 subscribers. So it's time for my game giveaway. Most of you will know the drill. I will hide the Geek here in the video, embed him in there, make him hard to find. But the first person to email me the time frame in which he is at, so for example 5 minutes 10 seconds, will win a game of their choice either on Steam or G2A with a value up to $60. I will put my email address in the description below, and once it's claimed I will pin a comment to announce the lucky winner. So good luck to you. Well, today I'm taking a look at the Asus GL702zc. Finally, we are seeing a laptop with full AMD components. It's powered by an 8-core Ryzen R7 1700 CPU. This has 16 threads, so it is ideal for those who want to do serious multitasking and anyone who has a software that takes full advantage of the many threads. I will show you how it performs in such a workload and compare it to my 6-core Sage NP9877. Now for the graphics, it has the RX580 with 4 GB of VRAM. This amount of memory can be a bit of a restriction at max settings, even at its default 1080p resolution. So it is a shame that AMD doesn't put in, say, like the RX Vega 56 in here. Now it is a 17-inch system, and surprisingly it is lightweight at 7.1 pounds or 3.2 kilos. But since it uses a 330 watt power brick, its total weight with the brick is 10.1 pounds or 4.6 kilos. And you'll need to carry this brick around with you as the battery life is only 90 minutes. Now the build quality reminded me very much of an MSI laptop with a black brushed aluminium lid that is pretty much of a fingerprint magnet. It has the ROG motif and markings on the back of it, which these glow red and they can't be turned off. Now fortunately, with it being made of aluminium, it is easily cleaned. The palm rest is the same brushed aluminium but with red stereo speakers and red accented keys. On the whole, I find the laptop to be very nice, and at the $1,500 price point, it's perfectly fine. The panel is a full HD 60Hz IPS with Freesync support with wide viewing angles. And indeed, even the bright sunlight shining on the matte display, text is still visible. Naturally, indoors, it is very good. And the good news is there's no PWM flicker even at 25% brightness. At 100% brightness, it is up there with the brightest besting the QHD Sage NP9877, which by the way uses the same panel as the Alienware 17. Even at 75% brightness, that is still brighter than the HP Omen X. It made a joy to work on. In fact, I would say using my video editing software, it looks sharper and clearer compared to my Sage. Its color accuracy is fine too, but it's not class leading, but it's perfectly usable. The screen does have a bit of flex, but in day-to-day use, I had no issues. On the left-hand side, we have the power port, so it doesn't get in the way of your mouse hand, but if the electrical socket is behind you, the cable can block the adjacent ports. So I would prefer to have had it on the back of the laptop. We have the Ethernet jack, mini display port, HDMI, USB-C, USB 3 Type A and combo headphone mic jack. On the right hand side we have the Kensington lock, 2 USB 3 Type A ports and an SD card reader. Now if you put an SD card in, you will see that it sticks out quite a bit, which I didn't like. It performs well though, same as my Sage NP9877. Round the back there are no ports, but just the heat exhaust vents and the wording Republic of Gamers. Storage wise, we have a SATA 256GB SSD which has a boot up time of 23 seconds, read speeds of 530 megabytes per second and write speeds of 460. There is only one M.2 slot, so storage expansion is limited, but it does take a PCI Express drive if you want faster speeds. There is a 1TB Seagate drive for games and larger files. My unit has 16GB of DDR4, 2400 MHz RAM. It's running single channel, but another stick can be inserted to give 32GB, but access is awkward as it is underneath the heat pipes. The CPU is here with 4 heat pipes and a large fan, and the GPU is here. You will notice there is a heatsink on the heat pipes as well. Here we have the CMOS battery, which is nice and accessible. Finally, we have the Wi-Fi card that is also easy to upgrade. The trackpad uses Windows Precision drivers and the integrated mouse buttons work very well. The keyboard does have a little bit of flex, and some people find the keys a little bit mushy. The AWSD keys are highlighted in red, but there is also an embossed marking on the W key which makes it very easy to find in the dark. The backlighting is red with 3 levels of brightness. You have a separate number pad with one key dedicated to bringing up the calculator and a key that's also dedicated to activate the ROG Gaming Center software. You can use this software to alter the fan speed, alter the screen color using their Splendid technology. Now, Game First allows you to optimize the network bandwidth. You also have XSplit Game Center and also Sonic Radar, which allows you to show on screen where gunfire is coming from, or bombs and footsteps. With the Sonic's audio software, you can alter sound output and select various profiles and enhancing your audio for streaming. This utility also shows useful information such as CPU and GPU clock speeds and temperatures, hard drive and RAM usage. You can create game profiles, assigning the Splendid setting you would like and whether to free up memory resources when it is launched. Finally, you can install the ROG Gaming app to monitor information on your mobile device. The other piece of installed software is the Radeon settings. Here, you can assign settings for each individual game, including whether Freesync should be active or not. You can set one of several video presets such as sports, outdoor or cinema. You have an AMD Relive, which is a bit like NVIDIA's Shadowplay, which you can use it to record or broadcast your gameplay. And clicking on the Display tab allows you to turn on FreeSync or enable Virtual Super Resolution, which is AMD's implementation of downsampling. It's a process that renders an application at higher resolution and then resizes it to fit onto your native display. Texture details become more pronounced and it eliminates jaggies without the need of using anti-aliasing. FreeSync, in combination with VSync, works well. The VSync caps the frame rate to the refresh rate of your monitor, and then the FreeSync kicks in when the FPS drops below that. Under full load, the laptop pulls 254 watts, and that's certainly more than the equivalent GTX 1060 model, and hence the need for this beefy 330 watt power brick. Looking at the average power consumption, we see that the CPU and GPU both pull around about 68 watts under load, and at no time was there any throttling. The GPU boosting up to 1177 MHz clock, and the CPU maintaining its 3194 to 3742 MHz clock. In my tests, it generally stuck at the lower clock rate. The gaming temperatures were also very good, both the CPU and GPU being around about 80 degrees, and that was with the auto fan. Turning on the max fan would generally bring this down to the low 60s. Now, this translates into quite decent chassis temperatures too. The center of the keyboard at 32 degrees Celsius, the AWSD keys about 27, the number pad 28, trackpad 27, and underneath about 34 degrees, although just over where the GPU is, it gets to about 40 degrees Celsius. It does have stereo speakers which actually take up quite a bit of space within the chassis, but they aren't particularly great at about 70 decibels, which is less than many 15-inch laptops, and there is no subwoofer. Personally, I suggest that you use headphones, as the load fan is quite loud at about 54 decibels, making it hard to actually hear the gameplay. Here's what the webcam is like. So, it's a 720p webcam by the looks of it. This is what it looks and sounds like. To test the multitasking power of this laptop, I use Handbrake to encode a video. I use Adobe's Lightroom to create a video slideshow. I use Bandicam to record some gameplay, whilst also running Cinebench and playing Rainbow Six Siege at max settings, all at the same time. And as you can see, I'm still getting around about 45 FPS with no lag. The CPU did get to 94 degrees, but the GPU was only at 79. I think this is excellent. Brilliant performance. And indeed, when we look at playing the same game by itself, we average the same 45 FPS. So we actually take no hit doing all these other tasks in the background. In comparison, the GTX 1060 gets 47 FPS, so as expected, this laptop's gaming competitor. But I know no other laptop in this $1,500 price range that can multitask like this. In my Handbrake test, where I encode a 4GB file to MP4, the Asus handily beats Intel's quad-core offering. Even with those overclocked to 4.5 GHz like on the Omen X, it annihilates it. Even the desktop i7-7700K at 4.7 GHz got beat by 20%. Only the twice expensive i7-8700K equipped Sager was able to give it a match, narrowly beating it by a minute at stock settings and 3 minutes when overclocked. With the auto fan, the CPU reached 92 degrees, but the max fan brought it down to 64 degrees Celsius. Now, if only Asus allowed the CPU to be overclocked, and unfortunately AMD Overdrive was not compatible. But still, this is a mighty fine performance. Better was to come using Adobe's Lightroom. Converting those 50 photos to a video slideshow, I would record a record-breaking 8 minutes 10 seconds. The extra cores on this laptop must really help. Now, interestingly, using the GPU to do the work resulted in a similar time. The CPU had a good temperature at 83 degrees. Now, Cinebench is a synthetic benchmark, and it shows that it matches the 6-core i7-8700K at stock clocks. And Intel actually will be launching mobile 6-core CPUs very shortly. The i7-8720HQ will have a base clock of 2.4 and boost up to 3.6 GHz, but it is clear that it won't be a match for this AMD CPU. An important test for me though is video rendering. I use Magic software to do all my videos, and I did see an improvement when I moved from a quad-core to a 6-core CPU. But unfortunately, I didn't see any benefit with the Ryzen CPU. It was about 50% slower, which was strange as all the cores were being used, and indeed the overall CPU overhead was actually less. It did remain pretty cool at 56 degrees Celsius with the max fan turned on. Now, of course, your mileage may vary. Perhaps you could get a better showing with some different software. Now, onto some gaming. First up is VR. I tried the Vive and it worked great. I then did Steam VR via mixed reality, and that worked okay too. You know, head motion was fine, but the controller tracking was a little bit iffy. So to be honest, I would recommend sticking with either the Rift or the Vive. In Player Unknown's Battleground, at ultra settings, we pretty much matched the GTX 1060 at 55 FPS. Gameplay was smooth, and it fits in nicely with the display's 60 Hz refresh rate. In Battlefield 1 DX12 ultra settings, we get 64 FPS. Again, being similar to the GTX 1060 laptop with the fast CPU like the Aorus X3 V7. I played Doom using both OpenGL and Vulkan, and was surprised that using Vulkan, the GTX 1060 in the Aorus got double the frame rate. Still, switching to OpenGL, it only took a 14% hit, but at ultra settings, 74 FPS is just fine. Finally, in Rise of the Tomb Raider DX12, it again matched the GTX 1060 in the Aero 15. 68 FPS is a perfect match for this display. So to conclude, I would have to say this laptop is great value. Sure, the battery life sucks, and the speakers are, rather blah, but its multitasking performance is second to none. It runs cool, which is amazing considering it's got desktop components inside, and its gaming performance combined with FreeSync is very good. Now, should you get this over another 17-inch GTX 1060 laptop? I would say yes. If you can live with its shortcomings, I would definitely do that. My only wishes are that if I could overclock the CPU and overclock the GPU. I did try using Sapphire Tricks for the GPU, and the max clock I could get was 1100 megahertz, but when it would reset itself to default when I opened something else up. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.